Right, so I thought we'd take a look at the CR10 Smart Pro, or Pro Smart, whichever way around it is. And I actually did a video when this came out of the box, and I was just talking about the various quality, the various parts, the build quality, what I didn't like at first glance with the various parts. And then I did another video which I haven't put live yet, about how it was after assembly and things like that, first impressions. Unfortunately, for the first time ever, the first video that I filmed became corrupt somehow. I've never had that before, and ended up not being any use. God, these little shiny screens are a pain in the arse. So yes, overall I'm reasonably happy with this so far. There was a problem with the extrusions here running the Y axis, and I noticed that when the bed was pretty much in the middle position, you could grab either side of it and wobble it up and down. For what, that can't be right. And when I looked under, you've basically got three sets of wheels, and we have an adjustment front right, then a not adjustable wheel, then adjustable, not adjustable, adjustable, not adjustable. And in the middle position, that wheel, the wheels in the middle position, were actually not touching the channel of the extrusion, which I thought was really weird. So it didn't seem sensible to even attempt to tighten it up, because if it was perfectly okay at the extremes of travel, which it was, you could pull it all the way forward and it wouldn't wobble, and you could push it all the way back and it wouldn't wobble. It seems strange to have that in the middle. So in the end, what I did is unplug the machine, pushed the bed right the way back, exposed, there's two screws there, there's two more halfway down, and there's two at the back. And I basically loosened the screws and gave the extrusion a bit of a knock. Just why won't that go back in there? Oh, come on. There we go. I just gave it a little bit of a tug around with the screws loose, hoping that that would sort of settle into the correct position. And then I just pinched the bolts up to check, and in fact that solved the problem completely. There was good wheel contact with the grooves on the 6 points and all the way along, so there was no movement at all. So there was that problem, so it's worth checking that if you do buy one of these. Just make sure that the wheels are in good contact, and I would certainly try loosening these bolts off and letting it settle, and then doing them up before starting to tweak the adjustments on the wheels. So let's start from what we don't like. Well, we don't like this stupid card reader slot. I obviously can't pull it out now, but you push it in and it comes out a little bit, but it's virtually, it doesn't come out far enough to grab. You can't really get into it there either. It's just an inconvenient position, and the fact that it doesn't come out too far, and the fact that this is a sloped face, that just makes it a little bit more tricky. Obviously that the card is going straight in flat. If it was going in at an angle, it would be easier just to pinch it top and bottom and pull it out. So don't like that. I've obviously got used to a really nice colour screen with every possible adjustment on it from the BTT upgrade, and if you're interested, we are just printing 3 white drawers for the little drawer holder that we printed overnight. Done one, absolutely perfect, and going to do 2 black and 3 white. just some little bits and pieces. So sorry, yeah, so it was quite a shock to get this fairly boring screen. I also don't like the fact that it falls off the touch of a hat. Yeah, I really don't like that way that that's fastened on there. You often knock it and it's hanging off loose. Navigation, it's different to the BTT, but once you've got used to it, and I wish I could get any sort of an angle where you can see this, is ridiculous. It's quite sensitive to touch. Sometimes I find myself pressing a button twice because it just doesn't do anything on the first. There's certain things you can do whilst it's printing. Obviously you've got the percentage, if you can see it, there we go, percentage elapsed time. Trying to think what can we do. It's obviously dimmed, it dimmed times out. There's certain things you can adjust on the fly here. One of them is the Z-axis. I've got it at -2.80. That seems to be giving quite a good, if I can get any part of it on the camera, seems to be doing good results. I did do a benchy yesterday, and I've slowed the first 2 layers down, and I do like this rough surface that leaves that sort of finish. That is, yeah, very nice. I do like that. Now in this case I just altered the settings and put the Z scene in this corner so you don't really see it. Obviously you don't see it on the main hull, which is a bit nice. It printed that pretty good. I haven't done the full calibration yet. I just wanted to print a few things out without making any adjustments, just to see how it's set up from the factory. Quite pleased with that. Printing this drawer out again without calibration, just to see how the measurements compare to my Ender printed drawer, which has been set up and tweaked quite nicely now. So getting back to what we didn't like, yeah, look, you're going to have to get used to the difference here, but I think once you do, it's absolutely fine. Everything is working okay. I did find that it will not sit very well on a standard depth workbench. This is a bit of kitchen surface, as you can see, that I've always used in the workshop. So what I've had to do is 2 feet that were mounted right at the front, I've had to mount those back a bit further so this can hang off the front. There's been no detrimental effect of doing that. It is absolutely rock stable. You can see the other side. I've just had to move that foot along and back. Right, back again. Got interrupted there, and notice an angle where I could see the screen really well, but that's not it. Maybe if I turn the lights off. Yeah, I think that was it. I think I must have had the lights off. So yeah. Right, so I think we were having a bleat. We'd covered the card. The fact that this was is very loose and is easy to knock. Also the screws had to be loosened all the way along the extrusions to get that all aligned. Not a massive fan of this cable coming out the back like that. That is one of the reasons it won't fit actually on the bench properly without adjusting these feet, because that is quite a solid bit of wire, and when the plate goes right the way back, this hits the wall and obviously stops it touching the micro switch, which is just in view there. So I remember reading somewhere that these were metal. They're not, they're plastic. Same with this one here, that is plastic adjustment. These are metal. no issues with those. A drawer, quite pleasant, quite a nice arrangement of tools and bits and pieces that you get with it. I also like the magnetic part of that holds it in place shut. If you watch there, it's just a little bit of pressure holding it closed, which is nice. Now down the side we've got the, if we get to it, we've got the USB connection, USB-C connection there. We've got a dedicated normal USB for the camera and RJ45 socket there. Now let's cover the camera. Now it's a good job that they say it's free in the packaging. Yeah, it's a freebie along with some filament, white filament I think it was, a small spool of that, because the camera is not the greatest. I'm going to put the lights back on, which will help. Now whilst we're on the subject of lights, the light is very good. You can turn it off at the side, you can turn it off within the software, no problems there, but it doesn't really light where you want to be looking. And the other issue is, now I don't know whether you'll be able to see this, the metal shielding around this fan is bent, so that's been damaged in the factory and then just bolted on. You might be able to see a slight curve in it if you look here. And the other problem is with this, I'm so used to sort of dipping down and looking at the nozzle on my Ender 3, so I can see what's going on. With this, because of the fan at the front there, you just can't see anything. So you've got to always come in at the side here. So not a big fan of that fan being at the front. And of course it's only cooling in certain directions as well, I think. It really needed to be an all-round fan shroud. But hey, that's what we've got. Filament feed, no problems at all. I've seen complaints that this is not working. The filament feed does not work. It's if you pull the filament out, the printer will just carry on going. It doesn't actually trigger the error state, which I have not tested at the moment. Blue light at the moment, so I might be testing that at some point. Other than that, no real big issues. So let's talk about connectivity. Might have to blank out my model number and serial numbers and everything there on the videos, but what the hell. So as you know, this has got cloud connectivity. You can download the Creality cloud app, and this is what we've got running here. There's various things that you can do, and we'll also talk about how you actually connect this in a minute. So you've got your cloud account, and you can upload things from the PC or your phone, wherever you're working from, laptop, and you can upload it to the cloud. And if I go into my slices, there's nothing there. If I go into my uploads, you'll see various things, and that parts drawer tray is what we're printing at the moment. If we go down to the bottom, we've got devices, and it will show your devices, and at the moment the CR10 is online, TF card is inserted, printer is on and active, and you've got settings, playback of any recorded videos. This little window you can just drag around. So it's pretty useful for monitoring things. If you hit the full screen button, you will see that that has now... Oh, what's that? Oh, that's right, the connectivity paused for a moment as I spun that round. It's just lagging. I thought the printer had crashed, but no. So just bear that in mind. If you ever see that stopped, it's not because your printer's crashed. It's probably just a bit of lag. We've got a super fast GigaClear connection here, so yeah, it shouldn't do that, but hey, it's going through their processing first, Creality. So right, so if we just go back to that, now you can connect with Bluetooth, Wi-Fi and wired networks. I like wired networks because I like to give them a dedicated IP address. So I've gone to my router, so I've plugged this in, turned it on. You need to use your phone, and you will need to connect to the Creality box that's inside this Wi-Fi box, and then you get a chance to enter all of your wired connection details, or just set it to start with as a DHCP and let it assign its own IP address. Once you've done that, you can find it on your own router and rename it, because in my case I think it just said a local device, something like that. It didn't come up with any Creality or anything obvious that it was the printer, so you'll need to just see which IP address it's stored at. Once you've got that and you come out of this app and you can connect OK, you can repeat the process if you need to by going into restore all network settings or Wi-Fi settings. Go to your own router and go into your list of devices and just assign it a fixed IP address, and then go through the process again, but this time tell the Creality cloud installation process that you are assigning it a fixed IP address. That way, that's the only way I found it to be reliable connection wise. When it was doing its own IP address, I would find that the app just wouldn't say connect online here, it would just say offline, even though I knew the thing was up and running. So I would definitely advise a fixed IP address. Pretty straightforward to use the Creality Cura app. I've got the two printers set up, not in this because the other one is not Wi-Fi or anything like that, although I'm hoping to make it that way with a Raspberry Pi that's arriving soon, because the one I had is not powerful enough, so couldn't do that. Anyway, look, the results so far are perfectly acceptable, and that was after I did some tweaks to the settings. I'm printing out some black drawers for this that I've just printed off on the Ender, and yeah, I've got the first two layers printing very slowly in case anyone's wondering why that is quite slow, and then it will go back to normal speed, just making sure the bed adhesion is good. So yeah, relatively straightforward to connect and set up. Cloud Print seems to work well. I've had no issues with it. You'll get a message on here saying downloading the file to the printer, and then preheating, and then starting, and away you go. I suspect 45 minutes. Yeah, we're on 46 minutes, but I'm not so sure about the 8 hours and 47 minutes. I think that's probably based it on the speed of the two slower first layers. I think it's just gone back to normal speed now. So yeah, hopefully that figure will update. Tells you what layer you're on, and as I say, you can run the camera and just keep an eye on things. It can be a little slow to connect sometimes, and other times not. You can zoom in a little bit. That's frozen. Yeah, just buffering. Don't know whether improved lighting would help see the nozzle a bit more, but yeah, look, it came with it free, so I'm not going to complain too much. It's all working pretty well. So there we go. That's just really a look at the CR10 Smart Pro, or Pro Smart. It's CR10 Smart Pro actually. I'm hoping that this will produce some good and larger prints. So we're at 85%, and just noticed some lifting at the corners there. You can see got a similar one on the other side. Oops, but I don't think it's quite the same. Oh bugger, at the back. Just caught my hand on that, possibly slightly, and back there. Yeah, possibly slightly, but it's definitely lifting at the front edges where it's probably in more of a draft. So we've got one 1960 bed. Don't know whether that's going to be an issue. The Ender's happily printing exactly the same part at 50 degrees bed temperature, but of course we're in a nice enclosure. So we could try the 3D lac on this one, possibly an enclosure or just a different temperature on the bed. We'll have to have a little look into that. Okay, so that was today's project. Just the little 5-drawer unit, just put some silicon feet on there, and printed 3 in white on the Ender and 2 in black on the CR10. I'll get this right one day. CR10 Smart Pro. The Ender is doing a much nicer job. We've got some roughness in the bottom of the CR10 if you compare that with the Ender 3 Pro. It's much nicer. Do prefer the finish you get off of this CR10 build plate though. It's really, really nice. Do like that. Notice a little bit of, or whatever that is, it coincides with where the divider is. And, oops. We don't see anything like that on the Ender one. So a bit of tuning in to do. I haven't really calibrated the CR10 properly yet. Just wanted to get a rough idea of, how it was going to do. We certainly want to get some of these times down. The actual drawer holder took about 10 hours on the 3 Pro, but yeah, it's good enough. It's a good one done. Do like the way the Creality Cloud on the phone will tell you that the build is finished. That's what I came out with, like a minute after it had finished because of the notification. In fact, to be honest, I'd forgotten that it was actually still running because I'd shut the Ender down. So yeah, not bad. I'm going to do some flow calibration and feed calibration, all done through the settings here. If I can remember where, I think it was movement. Where's movement? Yeah, so we can adjust there, and you can adjust everything here. I think we need the in. No, that's not what we need, is it? Where was it? Ah, here we go. Nope. Oh god, I found it earlier. Oh, that's ridiculous. So bloody annoying. Oh, here we go. Yeah, here we go. Extrusion 424.9, they're the E steps. And you just enter a new value. So, yeah, it's all available here. I just don't like the way this is laid out compared to the Ender Ender 3 that I've got used to, but it's all there, so it's not going to be an issue. So yeah, success. Just a bit of calibration to do. Really, I think this needs an enclosure, but the Creality one is not going to fit. I don't think it's a much deeper printer than the Creality enclosure, so I think we may have to custom build something or see if Creality are actually making something now for it. Anyway, there we go, that will do for today.